Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King, and today I'm back with another installment of Romance Week here on the channel. You know I love my romance comics so much that I've created my own romance comic, Geek Love, which ends on Kickstarter tomorrow. So tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream to count down the last hour of the campaign. But to celebrate the launch and the end of the campaign for Geek Love, I'm doing romance comics all week long. If you want to get Geek Love, you can click on the link in the description down below. And today I'm going to be talking about Charlton. So a couple days ago we looked at ACG, specifically at My Romantic Adventures. Yesterday we looked at some Marvel stuff, but today we're going to be showing off some Charlton. Now, as people know that have been watching my channel for a while, I have a lot of Charlton romance. So I was trying to figure out exactly what to show here, and it's kind of a mishmash. I've got a few covers from the early Bronze Age, mostly sort of Vietnam covers, just a couple of those to show. But most of the stuff I'm going to show here is actually going to be mid-60s and earlier. We have some stuff from the 50s, some Charlton stuff you're just not going to see very often. And some great covers. There's, Charlton put out like 1,200 and something romance books. So this is an area where I've decided not to be a completist and just pick and choose the covers that move me. So if I have a Charlton in my collection, it's probably because it has a cool cover. So I just want to show off some of these, and curious to see what you think of some of these. But here's one from Demetrio. Now, Demetrio only did, I think, 5 romance covers. Possibly a 6. There's one that he didn't, that's not signed, but it looks like him. He did a little bit of work in some other genres, but he has this super delicate art style, early 70s, and everything he did is absolutely great. This one here, it's Secret Romance number 30. This is one of the harder ones actually for me to find, but it's just absolutely great. The colors, the designs, the patterns, just a tremendous piece of art. I have all of the Demetrio covers. This isn't my favorite, but it's right up there as a close second. It's a bit of a tease because I'm not showing you the first one, but I've shown it off several times before, and it's Just Married 102. We got a couple of the Vietnam covers that I mentioned, and I've showed these before. I've done videos on these before. But first off, it's Secret Romance number 1, Love Lies Buried Here. And as the first issue of Secret Romance, it has an absolutely great cover. And it's sort of a classic Vietnam War romance book because it's about a woman whose husband is killed in the war, and then like his best friend in the war comes back to tell her, and was wounded in the same attack or whatever, and then they sort of comfort each other and end up falling in love. The usual. But it's a really good story, and it's a really great cover, really powerful. And along those lines, there's also Time for Love 16, Love Lies Deep and Cold. And this cover doesn't have the promise of new love. This is just sadness. This cover is from Jim Aparo in the days just before he went over to DC. And as you can see here, she's thinking about her husband who has been killed in the war, and now he's come back, and she's at the funeral. Absolutely great cover from Jim Aparo. Speaking of great covers, going a little bit further back in time now, 12-cent era. Last one was 15 cents. This is 12 cents. It's Romantic Story number 92, and when I started collecting Charlton romances, this is one of the very first ones that I got. Check out this incredible cover here. Them swimming in the barrier reef, having the underwater kiss. There's a shark coming at them that they're not aware of. It's called One Kiss Before Dying. And then just look at the detail work on this cover. underwater, all the stuff down here in the seabed. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. I'm telling you, some of these Charltons, the art is really amazing, and which is particularly notable considering that Charlton, when I was getting into collecting in the in the 80s, and for a long time Charlton was sort of, people look down their nose because it's considered to be low quality, but man, there's some amazing stuff. Now we're going to jump around time-wise here, but let me show you a couple Nurses in Love. As you guys know, I have a lot of Nurses in Love, and I'm just going to show a couple of them here. Here is a nice copy of some issue or other, there's no number on it, of Nurse Betsy Crane. I mean, technical grade is not that high. It has a crease and some stuff down in the bottom left, and a little bit of discoloration along dirt along the bottom. But it's a solid mid-grade that presents higher. It's a beautiful looking book. These are really hard to find in nice shape. It's got a great cover, a great color. At last, love had come to Nurse Betsy Crane. Brilliant surgeon Dr. Orman loved her as much as she loved him. Was this romance to last? I'm going to guess no. Don't miss a labor of love. It never lasts because every issue she's got to have like a new romantic interest. Another thing about this cover, which is a great cover, but look how smug she is. She's like, yeah, nailed it. She's looking right at the reader thinking, yeah, you've seen me have my heart broken every issue till now, but this time I got my man in your face. So anyway, great cover here. Now this next one is only kind of romance adjacent, but these aren't very easy to find, so I was really happy to get it. It's My Secret Life, featuring Sue and Sally Smith, flying nurses. I hate to send you two girls into that raging forest fire. And Sue says, Dr. Jim's urgent call. Sally says, Dr. Jim's urgent call said he needed our help. Ready, Sue? Ready, Sally. So here they are, Sue and Sally Smith, about to jump out of this plane right into the fire. Again, it's only sort of romance adjacent, because there's a lot of action in it, but it's also part of this sort of Nurses in Love subgenre that was happening around this time, early 60s. These are great, and again, they're not very easy to find. Let me just let's get some more last couple of 12 centers, and then we'll show off the 10-cent stuff. Okay. Romantic Secrets number something because they don't have the numbers on them, and this is like one of these sort of just barely squeaking past the code Charlton books. This very much has a African Queen feel. So these people on the boat, and the rough and tumble boat guy is like, "You'll do as I tell you, or else." And she says, "Or else what?" And he's grabbing her by the arm. Doesn't seem like a romance book, but it is. At the mercy of a man she loathed and despised, caught in the net. So again, it's not the kind of cover that you're going to see on a DC book. No chance. And it's just, I think, squeaking under the code here. But that's what makes some of these interesting, is to see how far Charlton is able to push the boundaries of these covers. Here's Sweethearts 45. I've mentioned this before because it's one of the most interesting covers in my romance collection. Because these romance covers were being written for girls, it's very strange that so many of the covers are basically showing like sexy women. The focus of the covers is almost always the women, either sexy women or women crying. And you would think that since they're targeted at girls, there would be a lot more sort of beefcake, a lot of eye candy for the girls, and there almost is none. That yesterday I showed a My Love cover with John Buscema drawn a guy standing in the surf with his shirt open. That was close to Beefcake, but the figure of this guy was very small, right? This is one of the rare sort of what I would call female gaze covers. It's Sweethearts 45, where there's this shirtless lumberjack guy in the foreground just looking sexy. And literally the girl's driving by with her boyfriend and she's doing a double take because this guy is so hot. And she's thinking, why does my heart beat faster at the sight of him? Am I in love at last? And you can just barely see that the guy driving is seeing what's happening, and he's got, like, you can just see one of his eyes looking over here, and he is not happy that that his girl is basically just ogling this bare-chested lumberjack. So anyway, I love this sort of thing. I love it when the design sort of flouts the normal conventions of the genre, and here they sort of inverted it, and it makes perfect sense. Again, like, the comic is for girls, it's for women, so why not, right? Okay, we're moving back. This is in the still 10 cents era, so early 60s, like 62 probably. And here's another instance of Charlton really pushing the boundary with their covers and what they're allowed to do, because it's this woman is lying on a bed seemingly unconscious or dead, and this guy's running in going, Ruth, what's wrong? And you can see that she seems to have overdosed. Now, how did this get by the code? Well, if you... Now, my copy's not very good. I'm holding it up to the light here. Yeah. If you look at it super closely in the light, on the label of the bottle of drugs, I don't know if you can even see it, but it says aspirin. So they're basically like... They're doing a drug overdose / suicide cover. I'm not really sure. But then they're like, yeah, it's just aspirin. Even though this is clearly not what's happening here. Although this actually happens in the story, and she basically, they come in and they're like, oh my goodness, what did you do? And she was basically like, I'm fine. There's one panel where they think that she's overdosed on something, and she's like, no, it's just sleeping. So this is like a massive, like, over dramatization of a very minor melodrama in the issue. But the cover is fascinating to me, and really sort of, again, pushing the boundaries. Now we're back to 10 cents. Everything else I'm going to show you is 10 cents. So we're talking like 1960 and earlier. A lot of these are 50s. Here is, this one I think is probably 60 just based on how much text is on it. But it's an issue of Romantic Story, where she's on one of these, like, chair bed couch things that's shaped like a heart. It's just a cover that I really like in terms of the artwork. Next one is an early issue of Brides in Love. It's Brides in Love number 5. Now, Brides in Love number 8 is one of my all-time favorite covers, but I didn't immediately see it when I was going through things. I had that out a while ago. Got a display stand in my living room where I rotate comics on display, and recently I had that out, and I don't know where I put it, somewhere in my piles. But here's issue 5, which is a great cover. We got they're at a train station. There's a thing here that says departs 317. The guy's going off to the military, and they're sharing this last sad, sort of forlorn looking embrace before he goes off to war. Really great cover, right? I mean, really great cover. Simple, but just so well done. Emotional dramas you will never forget. I mean, just the cover you're never going to forget. So that's Brides in Love number 5. Here's a great one. It's Romantic Secrets. Not sure. Might be issue 20. There's a tag on it that says 20. I don't know if that's issue 20 or $20. I think these are from... It's either 57 or 58 where they have this big blurb. This is a Vince Coletta cover. Probably. I say probably because it is very much a swipe of a Matt Baker cover that he did for I just blanked on the title of it, but anyway, it's a very, very, very clear swipe of a Matt Baker cover. Where it gets a little tricky is that Matt Baker and Vince Coletta worked together. So it's possible that Baker himself had some hand in this and it wasn't just Coletta swiping it. But either way, at worst, it's Vince Coletta doing a really great impression of Matt Baker. Now, I used to have the actual Matt Baker comic that this is based on, but I sold it at some point. But there's a couple of these. There's a handful of these Charltons from this period that are clearly swiped from Matt Baker, and to the point where you're not sure whether Baker might actually have worked on them or not, or if they're just, purely Vince Coletta. But nevertheless, it's a great cover. All right, here's a couple that I've showed before. We're getting to some of my favorite top books in my Charlton collection here. This is another Coletta cover. There's definitely, you can tell his influence from Baker. I don't think this is one that Baker worked on, but his male figure looks very Baker to me. There's certain characteristics of the way that Matt Baker draws men's faces that are very consistent. But this is an absolutely amazing cover for Sweethearts. I love the roses. I love the clouds. It's just a great cover. One of my absolute favorite Charlton covers. Similarly, this is another one of my favorites. This is from 58. It's a Romantic Story. And there's a lot of things to love about this. I love the mid-century modern furniture. You can tell the time period, and also just the 50s outfits. But for me, this is one of the sexiest romance covers of all time, because a lot of them, of course, are women crying or whatever, and there's a lot of drama on a lot of romance covers. You don't actually get a high percentage of romance on the covers. But in particular, this is one where this is clearly depicting a married couple. So usually we have, a couple kissing, they're dating, whatever. But this is taking it, they're definitely married because it's the 50s and they wouldn't show this otherwise. But here he's got his slippers on after work, he's got his pipe, it's so 1950s. And she's sitting on his lap taking the newspaper away because it's business time, right? These people are about to get it on. And so, to me, this is one of the sexiest. Again, it's just on this side from the code, probably. The fact that she's sitting on his lap and caressing him, it's a little surprising to me that the code let this through. Maybe it's because they're not actually kissing yet, but that actually, ratchet things up a little bit. So anyway, I think this is, top tier romance cover, and I'm happy to have this copy. Here's another issue of Sweethearts, the earliest one I've shown so far. I think it's the earliest one in my collection. It's in pretty nice shape, although it's missing a chunk down at the bottom of the spine. But it's a great cover. It's Sweethearts number 31. it's got one of these semi-frames, almost like the Marvels that I showed yesterday. It's such a clean design, and the art is so good, it's so detailed. I love the line work with the night sky, simple stars, but like the scratch work there, and the detailed line work on the faces. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And finally, we're going to end with one of the top Charltons in my collection. Like all of these Charltons, it's not technically in very good shape, but it's probably a 4.5. Presents beautifully, which is great because it's a black cover. It's a romantic story. I don't know what the issue number is because, again, it's not on the cover. But absolutely one of the top romance books in my collection. The stories on it are I Kissed Another Man, My Lovely Witch, Witch Man from Marion, and China Doll. But just the black with the moon, and then there's this like almost like pixie dust, sort of Tinkerbell thing with the magic dust coming around with the stars. It's just gorgeous. So, that's a look at some of the Charltons in my collection. Obviously, I have a lot more Charltons than this. And most of my Charlton collection is Bronze Age and late Silver Age. So I wanted to show off some of the early stuff. There's actually quite a few. I'm not sure when I was going through my box I didn't see, but I've got some other cool ones that maybe I'll show in the future. There's actually another one that just occurred to me that's a clear Matt Baker swipe, and it's really, really excellent. I actually like this swipe version I have better than the original, but anyway, I don't have it here. I don't know where it is. It's somewhere in the piles, so I'll show that some other future time. But that's it. Again, tomorrow I'll be doing a live stream, so I'll have the link down below. Make sure you come join me to count down the last hour of the campaign for Geek Love. You can also get Geek Love. There's a link for that down below. So if you want to check out the romance comic that I've made, sort of as my tribute to all of this great stuff, you can get that as well. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know what you think of these Charltons down below, and I'll see you next time.